Hola amigos, ¿cómo están ustedes? Ojalá que estén bien. Today we are going to talk about the preterite and the imperfect because we are going to be able to narrate a story in the past. So, as you tell about things that happened to you, which is the vast majority of what we do using language, you also will be able to interchange between the two tenses as necessary in order to narrate a story completely. So, we have a couple of things to clarify first, and one would be the meaning of pretérito imperfecto. Tiempo in Spanish means two things. It means time, but it also means tense, like a verb tense. And so when you're thinking about whether to choose the preterite or the imperfect while you're narrating a story, sometimes you're going to be thinking about not just the fact that it was past, because they're both past, but also about the duration of time that something took place. So that duration piece of it, if it was ongoing, you would choose imperfect. And the reason is because imperfect means unfinished. So if think about the word perfect in the dictionary and you looked it up, it would say flawless, probably as its first definition. But there is another definition, which is um, the other definition would then be finished, right? If something's perfect, it's finished. That's like the grammatical term, grammatical definition. So imperfect would be the opposite. So imperfect, unfinished. So you want to think about things that were unfinished or went on for longer than um, a moment or something that would be preterite. So spread outs. Let's go to our next slide. We have um, some visuals. I have a bunch of visuals that I use over and over again. You may have even seen them in my classroom already. But the preterite and imperfect um, is a stopped action in the past. And so you think of red. And then imperfect would be green because it's ongoing. So we think of a green light as to go, right? So it's ongoing. All of these pictures that you're going to see in just a minute are based on a timeline. So um, these are going to be more at the end of the presentation. I do want you to copy the last page of the presentation. It's trying to integrate all of it together, but I've got examples and hopefully that'll be clear. So everything's based on a timeline if you think of things going in chronological order. So what would be the English equivalents of the preterite would be like a verb plus ed, like I talked or I walked or I played. And then you could also say like did verb, like I did finish my homework, etc. Whereas the imperfect, just like you did in your presentation, is for used to do something, like over time. Do you see my green wavy line? That's ongoing, right? So I used to do something implies that you did it over time, that it was repeated. Same as would always, like I would always go to the grocery store with my grandparents or something like that. That would be also in the imperfecto. Um, Another way to denote a ongoing action, like as you're narrating a story, is to say like, I was doing this or I was doing that, and you would use the imperfect for that. Like if you were saying like I was playing when my mom called me. Jugaba al béisbol cuando mi madre me llamó. And the me llamó part would be in the pretérito. So if you want to think about it as the big picture here, during a narrative, the preterite is going to be the events in the narrative, the things that happened one after another after another. I saw my friend. We walked to the park. We bought an ice cream. We called each other later. All of those would be preterite. Where on the other hand, the imperfect would be the things that are like the background information. Like It was a sunny day. It was, like hacía muy buen tiempo, and there were people everywhere. Había mucha gente en las calles, that type of thing. So you're setting the stage and telling about what happened and was happening, kind of like in the background. So this is the main chart, and I'm going to give you some examples for each of them. And so I'm going to go into more into depth. And you'll see this chart at the very end with the corresponding pictures that go with them. So I'm just going to start with the pretérito to talk about a single or simple finished action in the past. So like, yesterday I went to the store. Ayer yo fui a la tienda. Last night we ate macaroni and cheese. Anoche comimos macarrones con queso. So these are things that happened one time, and that's what you want to put the focus on in this, whatever your narration is, whatever you're talking about. Another time to use the preterite would be to mark the beginning or an end of a past action. So if you wanted to say, finally you finished the homework. I know you feel like that. Por fin terminaste la tarea. So you're marking the end of that action and that it's finished, just like the previous reason to use the pretérito. Or maybe it was, a longer period of time than just your homework. Like last year, we learned a lot of Spanish. So that was over time, but you're marking the end of that. El año pasado aprendimos mucho español. And then we started these a little bit in the last, before we left for our descanso. But the other reason that you're going to use the preterite is to mark a sudden change from a previous state in the past. Okay, so maybe your parents are really happy and then they got really angry when they saw your grades. Oh my goodness, let's hope this isn't true. Mis padres se pusieron muy enojados cuando vieron mis notas. Okay, so they got angry. And that would mark a change from the previous state, which was they're just having a great day or they're having whatever, a normal day. But you're marking the fact that it changed. Their mood changed when they saw your grades. Or how about yesterday? De repente empezó a nevar. All of a sudden, de repente, it started to snow, which is crazy in May. So, but empezó a nevar would be in the preterite because it was marking the change from the previous weather state. So now we've talked about pretérito, where you are just the facts, right? Just the events. So think of preterite as being about events, whereas the imperfect, on the other hand, is about a past action in progress. So you're marking the middle of the action and not the beginning of the end, which means that you are talking about that it was going on for an unspecified amount of time. I like to put little question marks before and after sometimes the little wavy green line, because you don't really know when it happened or if it finished, but you're not really emphasizing that it finished. So, for example, we were walking through the whole city, right? Caminábamos por toda la ciudad. Somebody said, like, what were you doing yesterday? Or cuando yo estaba en Cuba, iba de compras. When I was in Cuba for that undefined amount of time that I'm not mentioning, iba de compras, I was going shopping. Something like that. Okay, so it's an action in progress, like the opposite of talking about it being started or finished. You're not mentioning the time it's got started. You're not mentioning the time it finished. Now, there are times when you're going to use the preterite and the imperfect together. So that would be for point number 2, an ongoing past action that's interrupted by the preterite. So now you have something that happened for longer, unfinished, green, right, ongoing, that was interrupted by a shorter in duration action. Let me give you an example. When Felipe was in the cafeteria, he saw Miguel. So now let's just pretend you were sitting at the test. It was test day, and you're looking at this, and you're thinking, oh, there's two verbs here. First question you ask yourself is, did one of them happen for longer than the other one? In this case, Felipe was in the cafeteria for longer than when he saw Miguel. So the unfinished thing is the imperfect thing, right? So that's the ongoing green thing, right? So green for go. And then the preterite would be the one that happened for a shorter amount of time in duration. So, cuando Felipe estaba en la cafetería, vio a Miguel. Another example would be, I bought a new bike when I went shopping at the bike store. Okay, so think about this. What happened for longer? The going shopping usually is the longer in duration event that happens before you buy something at the end. So, yo compré una bici nueva cuando iba de compras en la tienda de bicis. So, iba is in the imperfect because I was shopping for longer than when I bought it. Yo compré. So, those two actions, one was shorter than the other. The shorter one preterite and the longer one imperfect, unfinished, ongoing. Going to point number 3. This is the ones you did on your very cute presentaciones. Boy, do I love looking at those baby pictures. Your habitual or repeated past actions. You were telling me about the things that you used to do as a kid. ¿Qué hacías de niño? What did you used to do? De niña jugaba con las muñecas Barbie. Okay, so corresponding to the English, used to or would always. So jugaba could be translated into English as I used to play with Barbies, or I would always play with Barbies. Or sometimes you get a nice little helpful hint that's a time marker like todos los días. Todos los días means every day. So that would tell you, like, ding, 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 make sure that you use the imperfecto because now you have a time marker that's telling you that it was repeated in the past. Todos los días estudiaba el vocabulario 10 minutos. The next point is about the description in the past. It could be age or someone's physical characteristics, ongoing feelings, and they're like the opposite of an event. Okay, so that's something too that you can ask yourself when you're trying to figure out whether to use preterite or imperfect when it becomes time to do so. So, for example, when somebody is a certain age, they're actually not that age for a second. They're that age for an entire year. So somewhere in that ongoing time, that year, is going to be why you're using the ongoing tense or the imperfect, right? So when you were 5 years old, your best friend was short, intelligent, and funny, right? So cuando tenías 5 años, right, for that whole year, tu amigo mejor era bajo, inteligente, y gracioso. Now think of that description of what this person was like is not an event, okay? When you're talking about what somebody looked like or some personal quality that they possess, it's really not an event. It's not something that happens for 1 second and then it's over like an event is, in which you would use the preterite. It's more like something that's more ongoing. Or another example, mi madre era chistosa y estaba muy contenta cuando ella era joven. So my mom was funny and she was really happy when she was joven, when she was young. Okay, so once again, you're talking about something over time. You're not talking about an event. You're describing, and if you want to think of it like earlier I mentioned background information about a person or place. Finally, telling time in the past. Time is always ongoing. So we use imperfect to mark that time. Like if I said it was really late when I finally finished my homework. Era muy tarde cuando finalmente acabé mi tarea. another way that, as we say in English, like, or rather in Espanol, for the present tense, like, hey, what time is it right now? ¿Qué hora es? Son las tres, son las cuatro, etc. If you were to ask that in Spanish, like, what time was it? You would have to say, ¿qué hora era? What time was it? When such and such happened. Like, what time was it when you finished your homework? Or what time was it when, you ate dinner yesterday? ¿Qué hora era? Eran las 2 de la mañana cuando mi hermano volvió a casa. ¡Qué escándalo! So my brother returned home at 2 in the morning. Uh-oh. It was 2 in the morning when my brother got home. ¡Qué escándalo! What a scandal. Okay, so that's the ongoing nature of that. So now we're going to put this all together. This is my not so beautiful way of showing this. Number 3 is missing on your Pretérito also. But I would like you to please make one of these charts that you can keep next to you while you're doing the activities. So just pause this presentation, and you need this chart to help you be able to put all of this together. The last part of this chart, which is the same chart with a little bit more information at the bottom so that it has everything on it, is you have your English verb plus ed, or did verb, that should be on there as well. Was, were, verbing, used to verb or would always verb, that should be on there too. And then at the bottom of this chart, you're going to see the clues to use it. Like, so ayer means yesterday, anoche is last night, anteayer, etc. Okay, so those are the day before yesterday is anteayer. So you have some time markers that will clearly indicate whether you should use preterite or imperfect. So when you get over to the imperfect side here, when you see siempre, always, or muchas veces, many times, generalmente, those are like repeated past actions, like number 3 on the chart that you see above it. So habitual or repeated past actions, all of those little X's on there show you, like, I went to school Monday, I went to school Tuesday, I went to school Wednesday, etc. Is like I used to go to school, right? So iba a la escuela. So each one of those X's indicates those individual actions that all blend into that habitual or repeated action in the past. So please write this down. Make this page a note, print this page if you want, and keep it next to you while you go forward with some other actions that are going to take you to the next step of being able to narrate a story. So we'll put it all together. You'll know when to use the preterite. You'll know when to use the imperfecto. And you will be so much the wiser, of course. And we will pick it from there. So, buen trabajo, amigos.